Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California at 6:10 a.m. or a couple of minutes late. And it is really, really dark outside. The sun hasn't come up yet. I'm on a certain longitude where I'm always up before dawn. And I like it because it is quiet. I like it very much. Nobody's gonna knock on my door unless they're absolutely nuts. And I won't open it. Knock, knock. Who's there? Orange. Orange what? Aren't you glad I'm not saying banana? Okay, today we are with Henning Morales. I wish I could roll that art. Henning Morales. Gotta get one time. I mean, Henning Morales. Gotta do it. Anyway, Henning Morales is a book. A novel by Henning Morales, Highwaymen edition, The Dirt Merchants, a true story, a triumph, a coming of age adventure, a novel. Here we are on page 156. It is five more people bet they wouldn't break the record. They didn't get anyone to do a straight up bet. It broke down as follows. No straight up bets. Seven bets for $100, they wouldn't hit 93 sales. 700. One bet for 200, they wouldn't hit 93. That's 200. One bet for 200, they wouldn't hit 110. 200. One bonus for breaking the record. 500. Potential of winning the card game. $750. Even though, so let's see, that's 900, 1100, 1600. $2,350 is the potential they could win if they hit 110 and won the card game. Ooh. Okay, even though hitter vets usually kept the majority of the money when riding with rooks, Spencer knew that, at least for today, Timmy was an equal. They had agreed they would split the money. The total they could earn was $2,350 for the day, almost $1,200 each, more money than either one had made in a day in their lives. If they achieved anything less than 93 sales, they would wind up having worked 24 hours and losing 1,100 with a shot at the poker money. If they hit anything less than 65, they would lose 1,100 and have no shot at even the poker money. Although they were well aware of the math, the kids were not nervous. They knew being anxious about their performance could lead to failure. I'm not anxious. I'm here. I'm not anxious. And I have my swimsuit on underneath. I have my orange swimsuit on underneath. Sorry. Sorry. Yes, Mary's doing a striptease. Ha ha ha. No, Yin Yang does not do anything weird. Except for she broadcasts all kinds of crazy shit. Aside from this isn't crazy. This is knowledge. Morsels of a thought are intended to give you some wisdom and to avoid the pitfalls. Wisdom being knowing the right things to do in your life, and then action into virtue. There's no virtue without action. That's what the other book said the other day. There is no virtue without action. That was George J. Chanos in his book, The Millennial Samurai. These are tough guys. They are mental, also samurai. All right, the dirt merchants. The guys busted out of the pit like those kids on Grease on the last day of school headed to the carnival. They jumped in their cars. They were off to the Milk Jug Deli, all but Timmy and Spencer. They stopped at the Wendy's drive-thru and headed straight for their territory in Deer Park, Long Island. Timmy was driving, shoving fries in his mouth, traveling along Route 80. Spencer was wolfing a double cheeseburger, looking down at his notepad, and said, "Review, Timmy boy. I know we've been over this 100 times, but let's focus on it now, man. It's game day. The most important thing is our hourly goal. Don't think of the 110. That'll make you crazy. We got 24 hours, so we need to drop 5 pieces an hour. We'll sleep for 2 hours from 4 to 6. Only the skeletons are out at that time anyway. I got those caffeine pills, so we don't have to worry about stopping for coffee every hour. 5 an hour gets us 110 sales. You know we can close 1 out of 3. So we need to see 15 people an hour and do the full focused presentation. We have hit 5 an hour before, but there's usually a lag or slow period in the day. Ain't gonna be no dry spells today. Timmy, my man, we won't allow it. Also, no breaks. We run all the way through. We gotta pump each other up the entire time. We have no time to get down at all. We know that any negative energy can rub off on our customers, so none of that. You're with me on this, man, 100%, right, man? License to steal, baby, license to steal. Timmy was more focused than at any time in his life. Spencer was used to going for big numbers and had learned from the best, but this was the ultimate test. This was payday. They took the last bites out of their burgers as they drove over the GW and down the Cross Bronx Expressway headed toward the White House Bridge. We're only working territories we both know and where we both worked together. We both know that those Suffolk County jerks can be neg, but no problem. Remember, they get paid. We cannot lose our cool. Smile at those flea cockroaches and say, "Thank you very much. Have a nice day." We're pitching everyone, Timmy, no exceptions. No goddamn cherry picking. We'll start working residential and the shopping center in Deer Park and hit the boat docks by the beach and factories and the big shopping center in Babylon and Hicksville for a couple of hours till about 3. We both know that we can do 5 an hour in that territory on a Friday during the day as long as we can deal the negative Guido dirtbag every once in a while and we don't let it blow our attitude. We did it before. We'll start working our way back through Nassau to Queens on the Sunrise Highway, hitting the gas stations and businesses along the way. Then we'll hit residentials in Jackson Heights, Corona, Astoria, and Elmhurst until 5. We can camp out at the cash checking place on 90th Street and Roosevelt. We'll be able to stay there about an hour before we get kicked out, then on to the Dominican residentials off Queens Boulevard. It's dark. Once it's dark, we ditch the reses and head to the Pathmark on Northern Boulevard. We stay in the Pathmark until midnight, then on to the Holland Tunnel. You with me, Timmy? Focused man, we're number one, no doubt. License to steal, get fired up. 5-piece drop, man, wahoo! Timmy barked. Exactly how we planned it. Holland Tunnel till 4, then we reload. Exactly. Then we take a power nap and we're pitching residentials in the shopping center in Jersey City, work our way in and out of the gas stations, diners, and truck stops on the 1 and 9 to Route 46 through Bogota, Hackensack, and Passaic, then back in Lodi at noon. By noon, the displays were set up and the pitching began. In the van, they were able to set up 2 displays, one accessible through the side sliding door and one in the back with the double doors. Things couldn't have started out better. The young merchants were laser focused and stuck to the plan, pitching everything in sight, except women, of course, with a stellar attitude. I have to say, this is Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom, 1640, The Dirt Merchants by Henning Morales, Highwaymen edition, a novel, a triumph, a coming-of-age adventure, a true story. And I remember somebody coming to my door once in 1991, and he was scared as heck. He was scared as shit. Every time he tried to say, he was trying to sell me a plastic card that had lots of detailed discounts from the gas station down the street. And I looked at it and I thought, they put in a lot of money to make this. I didn't want to buy it, of course, but I wanted to be nice to him. So I was nice to him. I said, "I'll think about it and I'll come there. I know you've got this now." That's all I said, but his look was petrified, like he was expecting me to refuse him very meanly. So I was nice to him. Anyway, back to the book. Things couldn't have started out better. The young merchants were laser focused and stuck to the plan, pitching everything in sight, except women, of course, with a stellar attitude. People seemed more receptive than usual, definitely due to the fact that they wouldn't let the smiles leave their faces. The unseasonable heat and humidity didn't bother them at all. No radio and no air conditioning was a rule, too distracting. Every time they found a hose or sink, they drenched their heads, staying cool and fresh. Timmy wore a bandana holding back his blonde hair. Spencer let his long, wavy brown hair dry in the wind and kept wetting it to keep it hanging in place. By 6 p.m., they were on track. They had 32 sales. By midnight, they had 57 off. Merchandise was running low, so they called Jim earlier than planned. They pulled over at a phone booth and paged Jim. The phone rang a minute later. How's your attitude, hitter? How many you got off? 57, Jim, and it's not even midnight. We need to reload now, Jimbo. Can you meet us in 40 minutes? You're doing it, boy. See you in 35. What the? It's working. They met at the warehouse in Lodi and reloaded. Jim was so excited that the boys had the pick of the merch. Usually the guys had to squabble over the best pieces, with guys poking their heads into the warehouse, busting chops all the time. With no one there, it seemed like Christmas morning. They grabbed 52-piece socket sets, speakers, screwdriver sets. They didn't want to be too obvious, but did their best to grab the most inexpensive items, easier to sell. They gave Jim 2,000 cash, mostly in tens, fives, and ones that they had collected so far, less 100 to make change, then signed the consignment sheet and split. They got to the Holland Tunnel at 1:20 a.m. At the Holland Tunnel on the New Jersey side, there are a group of 11 gas stations at the entrance and exit. One, oh, talking about gas stations, my parents were in the gas station business, so we always knew where every gas station was nearby that we had to compete in prices, and there were patterns on how to compete in prices. When they went down 2 cents, we went down three. When they went down 1 cent, we went down one, matching them sometimes and sometimes undercutting them, and other times just letting them undercut us. It's very interesting. One of Spencer's strategies was to drive in and out of those gas stations, pitching the people in their cars getting gas. Because in New Jersey, the customers don't pump their own gas. They were free to check out the merchandise while they waited for the attendant. On Friday night, those cars usually had multiple people in them, with all the club goers allowing numerous pitches with one stop. The boys were taught to be very careful with the drunk ones. Yes, they spend, but they could also turn on you, starting fights over prices, accusing you of hitting on their girlfriends at all, especially the later it got. The gas station managers didn't complain much as long as the guys wouldn't stay too long or get in the way. Spencer's secret was the discipline to keep moving. A lot of guys were lazy, so they wouldn't keep going in and out. They stayed too long or got bored with the scenery and would move on to new territories, wasting time. The key was to keep moving and to stay in the area. There are also some all-night diners, motels, and fast food joints adjacent to the gas stations to hit up. But the boys would stay closer to the gas stations where it was safer. As they approached the gas station lights, their game faces were installed. They grabbed 2 fresh cups of coffee at the Exxon and hit it. By 4 a.m., the boys had eight sales off, ahead of schedule. What the hell? We're really doing this. 5 away from the record. Traffic at the tunnels died down by 4 a.m. as the clubs closed. Time to rest. The boys were careful about where to pull over and sleep. Another advantage to the Holland Tunnel as an all-nighter territory is that Spencer had befriended the gas station attendants who would keep an eye on them while they crashed in their car and wake them up at a given hour. They pushed the display to the side carefully and slept with the permanent smiles they'd put on their face 16 hours earlier. You would think that after the caffeine, they would have trouble knocking out and also getting up. Not these guys, not today. They were commanding their bodies to precision. It was still dark when they arose at 5:50 a.m. They needed no alarm. You up? Yeah. Let's go. They bought coffee at the mobile station market where they were parked, then took turns in the restroom with soap and water in the face, deodorant, and fresh t-shirts. Now, when this occurred, California did not yet have the AM PM type markets in the gas stations. So this is interesting that it happens in New Jersey. They pitched it, and I know this because my parents were in the gas station business. Ha ha. Anyway, They pitched at that gas station until 8 a.m. Then they hit the residentials in Jersey City and Hoboken, working their way back to Lodi. They had 95 sales off. Then things changed. What everyone in sales experiences at one time or another based on the industry. It may happen daily, weekly, monthly, but it's always there waiting to happen. The dry spell. An hour went by and no sales. Another half hour went by, no sales. They had only 2 hours left and they were stuck on 95. It didn't happen all night. Why not? Not good. Don't panic. By then, it was affecting their attitude. They were exhausted mentally and physically. They were so close. Now, we are reading Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom, Highwaymen edition of The Dirt Merchants by Henning Morales. And we are trying to get wisdom and learn all the pitfalls in life of what to do so that when we do it, we are committing virtue. Okay, I'm trying to get virtue into the world. That's what I'm really trying to do. All right. By then, it was affecting their attitude. They were exhausted mentally and physically. They were so close. They started yelling at customers, slamming merchandise if people wouldn't buy. Can you use a bargain, you greasy slug? Have you seen this yet, you dirtbag? You want to think about it? Are you some kind of idiot, loser? Next time, there ain't gonna be no next time. Goobers. Spencer took over driving, headed down an alley and pulled over. Timmy, bro, we got to get it together, man. We're losing it. Listen to me, man. We're due. We're overdue. We'll do this. We haven't had a dry spell all night, and we were due for it, but we have to pull ourselves together. The shopping center over there's solid gold. We're going to get our attitude right now and pitch everyone with a smile and visualize them buying. Pitch it high, look them in the eye, and watch them buy. You got it? Now, in these days, the visualization was not a common denominator in the world yet. It was not in our vernacular. So this man coming up with it at this age is wow. Timmy was very serious for a moment and then put a big smile on his face, redid his bandana and screamed, "License to steal, baby!" They pitched cheerfully for 30 minutes, all smiles, but nothing. All of a sudden, a 5-piece drop. One customer buys 5 items. A 3-piece drop. Another 5-piece drop. 2 singles, and it was over. It was 11:30. They turned on WPLJ, and Van Halen's Running with the Devil came on. They sang that song and every song that came on in unison until they got to the office, partly to celebrate, partly to keep awake. The cheer they received when the thumbs up sign was displayed to the crowd in the parking lot was enthralling. Rose was waiting for the last car to come in and settle up. All the guys from Jim's office and Kenny's office were there to celebrate together. Jim had just assumed it would be done and had everyone wait. The card game was a hit with the most cards ever drawn, 40 cards. They took the $750 grand prize, barely beating out Ed Lloyd, who had 8 lousy cards. 110 sales was a record that stood until the end. It was never duplicated by any of the 600 salesmen at American Wholesales. American wholesalers or thousands that would come in after 100 other companies with 100 other names. After a quick shower at home, Spencer went straight to Sharon's house on the other side of Teaneck, where she'd been waiting to go to lunch and celebrate. He parked the van in front of the house and rang the bell. He fell into her arms without saying a word. "Come in," she whispered. "Let's go upstairs." He fell asleep in her arms on her bed. She went to wake him at midnight, shaking him. "You have to leave, baby. You know you can't sleep here. You have to leave, babe." Spencer didn't budge. She called her mother, and "He won't move, Mom. It's not my fault." Sharon's mother shook her head as they tried to get him to his feet. No luck. She quickly gave up. "They make that kid work all night again? They're working him to death over there." "They're not forcing him, Mom. He likes it. He's really good at it." Mrs. Mancini shrugged and left the room. He wasn't supposed to be there, but there was no possibility of him going anywhere until the next day, and they all knew it. Sharon closed the door behind her mom and jumped back in his arms. He had sweet dreams. "You can sleep when you die, gentlemen, and right now it's time to make some money," says Jim Braun, 1984. 1984. Jim Braun. Excuse me while I rub my nose again. Chapter 22 on page 165. Lazy Afternoon of the Jaguar. Saturday, July 7th. During the start of his frequent all-nighters in Deer Park, out in Deer Park, Spencer admired how the teenagers would soup up their classic muscle cars and show them off on the weekends. I think my astigmatism. Sorry. She knocks down the props. Ay, ay, ay. During the start of his frequent all-nighters out in Deer Park, Spencer admired how the teenagers would soup up their classic muscle cars and show them off on the weekends. The kids would meet up with their cars at certain parking lots after midnight. It seemed like a cool club. There were Mustangs, Corvettes, Camaros, Chevelles, Novas, Challengers, you name it. Spencer loved the way the 67 Chevelle looked in black with chrome wheels. The week before breaking the record while checking car listings in the Bergen record, Spencer had found a 67 Chevelle barely running with patches of burgundy paint and a stripped out interior for $7.50 or best offer. Spencer figured if those Suffolk County kids could afford to dress up a car, even if it was probably with their parents' help, he could do it easily. Ray, his sister's boyfriend, was a mechanic and had his own place. He could get Ray to do the restoration cheap. His plan was to pick up a rust-free junker for cheap and have Ray build it with strict instructions on how the restoration was to go. The original engine would be rebuilt and finely tuned. It was to be a full frame-off restoration, a new interior with all black carpeting, seats, and headliner restored back to original, new chrome and emblems all the way around, and Chevrolet factory tuxedo black metallic paint. The cherry on top would be American racing chrome wheels and extra big Goodyears all the way around. Spencer gave little thought to how long it would take or how much it would cost. He would just give his sister a few hundred here and there to give to Ray and would check progress. I think that getting big tires saves mileage. And I also think that I recall a joke. Should I tell a joke? After the card game on Saturday, Spencer had snuck, quote unquote, $500 out of his all-nighter money, hoping Rose wouldn't notice. She didn't. Rose never went into the pit and never witnessed the card game, so she didn't even know who won or how much. With all the hoopla of Spencer's breaking the record, Jim didn't pay much attention to the deposit either. Rose was more than satisfied with the $675 Spencer handed to her, more than ever before for a single day, earmarked for the dime savings bank account of Spencer Corrales. On his way to Lodi that following Monday, he stopped by the seller's house in Hasbrook Heights where Ray was waiting and negotiated the price down to $500, including a tow to Ray's garage in Patterson. Right, so we'll come back to this next week, and I want to say that joke now. I heard that the Nova only sold one car entirely from a dealership in Mexico. And the reason is Nova in Spanish means it doesn't run. No va. It doesn't run. So the entire dealership built in Mexico sold one Nova. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Old Kinderhook.